The message arrived on a Tuesday morning when Commander Jake Morrison was drinking his third cup of coffee at Luna Base. The communication array had been screaming warnings for the past hour, but nobody expected what came through the speakers when Dr. Lisa Grant finally managed to decode the alien transmission. "People of Earth," the voice was cold and mechanical, translated through systems that barely understood human language. "I am High Chancellor Vex Thara of the Zephyrian Empire, speaking for the Galactic Council. Your species has been observed and judged." Jake set down his coffee cup and watched the main screen as an image appeared. The alien looked nothing like the movies had predicted. Tall with crystalline skin that seemed to shift between blue and silver. Vexithar had 6 arms and eyes that glowed like distant stars. Behind the alien, massive ships floated in space, their hulls covered in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "For 50 years, we have watched your rapid expansion beyond your home system," Vexithara continued. "Your aggressive colonization of nearby star systems and your violent nature make you a contamination risk to civilized galactic society. The Council has reached a unanimous decision." Dr. Lisa Grant pulled up data on her tablet, her fingers shaking slightly as she scrolled through readings from their deep space sensors. "Jake," she whispered, "there are thousands of ships out there. I've never seen anything like this." The alien's message continued without pause. "You have 30 standard galactic days to abandon all colonies beyond your sol system. All humans living on worlds other than Earth must return immediately. Your species will submit to guided evolution under our oversight. You will become a client species under Council protection." Jake felt his stomach drop. Client species was a term they had learned from previous alien contacts. It meant slavery with extra steps. The aliens would control human reproduction, technology, and expansion. Humanity would become pets in a galactic zoo. "Failure to comply will result in the complete sterilization of your species," Vexithara said matter-of-factly, as if discussing the weather. "We have eliminated 47 other contamination risks in the past 1,000 years. Do not test our resolve." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in complete silence. Jake looked around at his team. Lieutenant Amy Foster was staring at her console, her face pale. Captain Eric Davis had his hand on his sidearm, as if bullets could somehow reach across space to hurt their enemies. Dr. Grant was still scrolling through sensor data, her scientific mind trying to process the impossible numbers she was seeing. "Get me President Walsh," Jake said quietly. "Priority Alpha." The call took 15 minutes to connect through the secure quantum channels. President Kevin Walsh appeared on screen from the White House Situation Room, flanked by General Paul Turner and Admiral Susan Clark. All 3 looked like they had aged 10 years in the past hour. "We received the transmission," President Walsh said without preamble. "What's our tactical assessment?" Admiral Clark leaned forward. "It's not good, Mr. President. Our deep space monitoring stations are reporting enemy fleet positions throughout the outer solar system. Conservative estimates put their numbers at over 3,000 vessels, with some ships measuring more than 20 kilometers in length," General Turner added. "Their technology appears to be several centuries ahead of ours. Energy signatures we can't even classify. Weapon systems that make our nuclear arsenal look like firecrackers." Jake cleared his throat. "Sir, there's something else. The way Vexithara spoke about eliminating other species. They've done this before, many times." President Walsh was quiet for a long moment. Through the secure channel, Jake could hear muffled conversations in the background. Finally, the president spoke again. "Gentlemen, ladies, I'm authorizing Defense Condition 1. All military leaves are canceled. I want every ship we have moved into defensive positions around Earth and Mars." "Sir," Admiral Clark said carefully. "With respect, our entire fleet wouldn't last 5 minutes against what we're seeing out there." "I know," Walsh replied. "But we're not going down without a fight. And maybe our enemies don't know everything about us that they think they do." After the call ended, Jake found himself staring out the observation window at Earth hanging in space below. The blue marble looked so peaceful, so small. Somewhere down there, 8 billion people were going about their daily lives, unaware that their species had just been sentenced to death or slavery. Dr. Grant approached him with her tablet. "Jake, I've been analyzing their fleet positions. It's almost like they're not even trying to hide from us. They want us to see how hopeless this is." "Maybe that's their first mistake," Jake said. "What do you mean?" Jake thought about Captain Ryan Martinez and Project Endurance. For 20 years, A small group of military scientists and engineers had been working on classified projects that most people in government didn't even know existed. The official reason was asteroid mining and deep space exploration. The real reason was preparation for exactly this scenario. "Lisa, what do you know about persistence hunting?" She looked confused. "It's how early humans hunted before we developed advanced weapons. We would chase prey for hours or days until it collapsed from exhaustion." "Right. We weren't the fastest or strongest predators, but we never gave up. We adapted. We found ways to survive when everything else died." Jake turned from the window. "These aliens think they know what humans are capable of because they've been watching us for 50 years. But they've only seen us during peacetime." "You think we have secret weapons?" Jake smiled grimly. "I think they're about to learn why humans survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, and every other extinction event Earth could throw at us. They think we're just another species to be conquered or eliminated. They have no idea what they've just awakened." 3 days later, emergency sessions of the United Nations resulted in a unanimous vote. Earth's answer to the Galactic Council's ultimatum was simple and direct. Humanity would not abandon their colonies. They would not submit to alien oversight. They would not become anyone's pets. The aliens had given humanity 30 days to surrender. What they didn't understand was that they had just given the most dangerous species in the galaxy a month to prepare for war. As Jake watched the first wave of human ships moving into position around Earth's orbital defenses, he thought about something his grandfather had told him. "Son, never corner a wounded animal, and never threaten something that has nothing left to lose." The galaxy was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Admiral Kethmarai of the Crystalline Collective floated in his command chamber, watching the primitive human ships scurry around their home system like insects. His crystalline body reflected the blue light from his ship's tactical displays as he studied the enemy movements with something approaching amusement. "These humans have been in space for barely a century," he transmitted to his fellow commanders across the galactic fleet. "My people have been traveling between stars for 10,000 years. This will be even easier than the Vroth pacification." On the bridge of the Vorthak Dreadnought Eternal Dominion, War Leader Thos examined sensor readings with his 4 eyes. The human ships were small, primitive things powered by simple fusion drives. Their weapons appeared to be basic kinetic projectiles and crude energy beams. Nothing that could threaten ships designed to withstand the cosmic forces between galaxies. "I count fewer than 200 human vessels in total," Thos reported to the Council fleet. "They are moving in predictable defensive patterns around their inner planets. No sign of advanced shielding or exotic matter weapons." From his command ship at the edge of the solar system, High Chancellor Vexthera observed the human preparations with the detached interest of a scientist studying bacteria. In his 6 arms, he held data tablets showing the complete technical specifications that the Council had gathered during their 50 years of observation. Human technology was crude but functional. They had managed faster-than-light travel through brute force engineering, rather than elegant gravitational manipulation. Their ships were built like flying fortresses, thick and heavy and inefficient. Everything about human space technology screamed of a species that had advanced too quickly, without understanding the fundamental principles of cosmic engineering. Meanwhile, on Mars, Colonel Danny Hayes coordinated the movement of Earth's defensive fleets from a command bunker buried 3 kilometers beneath the planet's surface. The stress was eating at him, but he couldn't let his people see it. On his screens, hundreds of red dots marked the positions of alien ships that could probably destroy Earth's entire fleet with their secondary weapons. "Sir," called Captain Beth Parker from her station, "the Prometheus and her escort group have reached position Alpha 7. Admiral Clark reports all defensive platforms are online." Danny nodded grimly. The defensive platforms were humanity's best hope. Massive orbital fortresses armed with the most powerful weapons Earth could build. Each one had taken 5 years to construct and represented the absolute peak of human military technology. There were 12 of them scattered throughout the inner solar system. The aliens had 50 times that many ships, and each alien vessel was larger than Earth's biggest space station. Dr. Amy Foster worked frantically in the hidden research facilities beneath Olympus Mons. Around her, thousands of scientists and engineers put the finishing touches on projects that had been 20 years in development. The official records listed these facilities as mining operations and atmospheric processors. The reality was far different. How long until the first wave is ready? Amy asked her assistant, Dr. Margaret Lee. 72 hours, Margaret replied, wiping sweat from her forehead. Maybe 60 if we skip the final safety tests. Skip them, Amy said without hesitation. If this doesn't work, safety tests won't matter anymore. Amy thought about the path that had led humanity to this moment. 50 years ago, when the first alien probe had been detected entering the solar system, world leaders had asked a simple question. What if these aliens weren't friendly? What if first contact meant invasion? Most people had dismissed such concerns as paranoia. Surely any species advanced enough for interstellar travel would be peaceful. But a small group of scientists and military planners had disagreed. They remembered human history. They knew that advanced civilizations usually conquered less advanced ones. So while diplomats prepared for peaceful contact, other people prepared for war. Captain Eric Davis piloted his scout ship toward the outer edge of the alien formation. His mission was officially listed as reconnaissance and assessment. His real job was to get captured. Remember, came the voice of Commander Jake Morrison through his encrypted comm. You're just a curious human pilot who got too close. Act scared and confused. Let them think we're as primitive as we appear. Eric smiled grimly. Acting scared wouldn't be difficult. His tiny ship was approaching vessels that could crack planets. But getting captured was essential to the plan. Humanity needed to know how the aliens thought, how they treated prisoners, what they expected from conquered species. The Vorthak patrol ships detected Eric's approach when he was still 1,000,000 kilometers away. To them, his ship's crude stealth systems might as well have been a searchlight. They allowed him to approach closer, curious about human boldness or stupidity. When Eric's ship was finally disabled by a low-power energy beam, he was brought aboard the Vorthak intelligence vessel Piercing Truth. War interrogator Vass studied the human with scientific interest. The creature was smaller than most galactic species, with only 2 arms and 2 eyes. Its technology was laughably primitive. You will tell us about your species' defensive capabilities, Vass said through a translation device. Eric looked around the alien ship with wide eyes, playing his part perfectly. I don't know anything about military stuff, he said, his voice shaking. I'm just a freight pilot. I was supposed to deliver supplies to Europa Station. The interrogation continued for hours. Eric revealed carefully prepared false information about human capabilities, all of it designed to make humanity appear even weaker than the aliens already believed. He spoke of supply shortages, equipment failures, and low morale among human forces. What he didn't mention was Project Endurance, or the real reason human expansion into space had been so chaotic and seemingly disorganized. While the aliens saw random colonization efforts, the reality was the systematic deployment of the largest distributed weapons network in galactic history. Every human colony, every mining station, every piece of apparently civilian infrastructure had been designed with dual purposes. The galaxy saw humans spreading through space like an uncontrolled infection. They didn't realize they were looking at the most sophisticated military deployment in known history. Back on the Crystalline Collective flagship, Admiral Kethmorai received the intelligence reports with satisfaction. Human defenses were even weaker than expected. Their fastest ships could barely achieve 1/10 light speed. Their most powerful weapons wouldn't scratch the paint on a council vessel. Begin final positioning, he ordered his fleet commanders. Standard pacification protocol. Surgical strikes on military targets, minimal civilian casualties, will have this species surrendering within hours. The galactic fleet moved into attack formation, with the precision of 10,000 years of military experience. They had done this 47 times before. Humanity would be just another footnote in the long history of galactic expansion. None of them noticed the small objects drifting through space around their ships. Objects that looked like debris or abandoned human technology. Objects that were very much alive and waiting for the right moment to wake up. The 30-day deadline expired at exactly 800 hours Earth Standard Time. High Chancellor, Vexthara waited precisely 1 minute past the deadline before sending the attack order to his fleet commanders. The Galactic Council had learned long ago that giving conquered species hope until the very last second made their surrender more complete. Admiral Kethmorai received the order aboard his flagship and immediately began the standard pacification sequence. The first wave would target human military installations with precision strikes. The second wave would disable their orbital defenses. The third wave would demonstrate overwhelming superiority by destroying one of their outer colonies as an example. Begin bombardment of their lunar facility, Keth Marai commanded his weapons officer. Low power. We want to disable, not destroy. The massive energy beam lanced out from the crystalline collective dreadnought, crossing the distance to Luna base in seconds. It should have reduced the human facility to glowing slag. Instead, the beam struck some kind of energy barrier that flared brilliant white and absorbed the entire attack. Impossible, breathed the weapons officer. Our sensors show no shield generators on that facility. But Keth Marai had no time to investigate. Every sensor on his ship was suddenly screaming warnings as millions of objects throughout the solar system came to life at once. What had appeared to be space debris, abandoned satellites, and random pieces of human junk was revealing itself to be something entirely different. Lieutenant Colonel Alex Turner sat in a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching displays that showed the solar system from a perspective no alien commander could imagine. For 20 years, every piece of human space technology had been connected to a single distributed network. Every satellite, every probe, every seemingly innocent piece of equipment contained hidden capabilities that had never appeared on any official specification. Operation Hive Mind is active, Alex announced to his team. All units responding. Initiate first wave. Across the solar system, millions of small objects began moving with purpose and coordination that defied galactic understanding of warfare. What the aliens had dismissed as primitive human technology was actually the most advanced swarm intelligence system ever created. Commander Beth Parker watched from the bridge of the UES Defiance as the first human response began. Around her ship, space was suddenly full of movement as thousands of small automated units emerged from hiding places throughout the asteroid belt. Each unit was no larger than a human fist, but they moved with the coordination of a single vast mind. Target the Vorthak command cluster, Beth ordered. Priority Alpha. The alien ships had positioned themselves in neat formations that made perfect sense according to 10,000 years of galactic military doctrine. They had overlapping fields of fire, mutual support, and clear command structures. Against any conventional enemy, their positioning was flawless. Against an enemy that could attack from every direction at once with millions of coordinated units, their formation was a death trap. War Leader Thas watched in growing horror as clouds of tiny human machines swarmed toward his fleet like angry insects. His point defense systems opened fire, destroying hundreds of the small attackers, but for every one destroyed, 10 more appeared. How many of these things do they have? Demanded his tactical officer. Unknown, came the reply. Sensors indicate millions more emerging from concealment throughout the system. The small human machines reached Thas's fleet and began their real work. Instead of exploding like conventional weapons, they attached themselves to alien hulls and began cutting through armor with molecular precision. Within minutes, the mighty Vorthak ships were being dissected from the outside by swarms of mechanical parasites. Captain Steve Clark led the second wave of humanity's response from his command ship, the UES Retribution. What appeared to be a suicide run toward the largest alien vessels was actually something far more sophisticated. His ships weren't trying to ram the enemy. They were carriers. Launch all pods, Steve commanded as his ship approached a massive Zephyrian battlecruiser. The human ships opened like flowers, releasing clouds of smaller vessels that immediately scattered in all directions. Each pod contained more automated units, but these were different from the first wave. Where the first attackers had been designed to damage, these were designed to infiltrate. The pods struck alien ships and immediately began boring through their hulls. Once inside, they released swarms of microscopic machines that spread through the alien vessels like a technological plague. These machines didn't try to destroy the ships. Instead, they began converting alien technology to human purposes. Dr. Margaret Lee monitored the battle from her command center on Mars, watching as human technology demonstrated capabilities that violated every known principle of galactic warfare. The aliens fought with honor, according to rules that had governed interstellar conflict for millennia. They used formation tactics, concentrated firepower, and strategic positioning. Humans fought like the persistence predators they had evolved from. They swarmed from every direction, converted enemy resources to their own use, and adapted their tactics faster than their enemies could respond. Conversion. Rate is exceeding projections. Margaret reported to Colonel Hayes. We're gaining control of alien systems faster than they can shut them down. The aliens had never encountered an enemy that could turn their own technology against them in real time. Their ships had been designed to resist conventional weapons and energy attacks, not conversion by hostile artificial intelligence. Admiral Roger Bell revealed humanity's most shocking capability when the first human ships began to replicate themselves using materials stripped from disabled alien vessels. What had started as 200 human ships was rapidly becoming thousands as automated factories converted alien hulls into new human technology. "My God," whispered Captain Eric Davis, who had escaped from alien custody when his captor's ship was overwhelmed by human infiltration units. "We're not just fighting them, we're eating them." The Galactic Council fleet, which had numbered over 3,000 ships at the start of the battle, was shrinking rapidly as vessels were either destroyed or converted to human control. For the first time in their 10,000-year history, the mighty galactic powers were facing an enemy that grew stronger with every passing moment. High Chancellor Vexithara watched his carefully planned invasion dissolve into chaos. His species had conquered 47 worlds using the same tactics, the same overwhelming superiority, the same assumption that lesser species would fight according to galactic conventions. "Sir," his communications officer reported with barely controlled panic, "we're receiving surrender requests from 12 of our own ships. They say they're under human control now." Vexithara stared at the tactical display showing his fleet being systematically consumed by human technology. The primitives weren't just fighting back. They were winning. For the first time in galactic history, the Council faced an enemy that didn't just resist conquest. They faced an enemy that conquered the conquerors. General Frank Williams stood in the command center beneath Colorado Springs, watching displays that showed something no alien species had ever seen before. Human forces were not just defending their home system anymore. They were hunting. "Sir," reported Captain Lisa Stone from her tactical station, "boarding teams have secured control of the Zephyrian flagship. We now have access to their complete star charts and fleet coordination protocols." Frank nodded grimly. What the aliens were discovering about human warfare was something their civilized minds could barely comprehend. When faced with extinction, humans didn't fight fair. They fought to win, using every advantage they could create or steal. The boarding actions were unlike anything in galactic military history. Human teams didn't capture alien ships cleanly, according to established rules of engagement. They spread through the vessels like an infection, converting crew quarters into forward bases, turning alien cafeterias into weapons factories, and using the ship's own life support systems to flood sections with human-friendly atmosphere while poisoning areas still under alien control. Captain Lisa Stone led one such boarding team aboard the crystalline collective cruiser Eternal Harmony. Her soldiers moved through the alien ship with the methodical efficiency of exterminators, sealing off sections, cutting through bulkheads, and systematically claiming territory deck by deck. "The aliens keep trying to negotiate," reported Sergeant Bill Murphy over the comm. "They want to discuss terms of surrender for this ship." "Tell them we don't negotiate with individual ships," Lisa replied as she planted another conversion device on an alien power conduit. "They surrender everything or they lose everything." The aliens had never encountered enemies who refused to follow the established protocols of civilized warfare. For 10,000 years, galactic conflicts had been conducted according to rules that protected civilian populations, preserved valuable technology, and maintained clear distinctions between military and non-military targets. Humans ignored all of those rules. They treated every alien ship as a resource to be harvested. They converted alien crew members to human service through a combination of psychological warfare and technological manipulation. They turned captured vessels into factories for producing more human weapons. Admiral Roger Bell coordinated the most shocking aspect of human military capability from his flagship, the UES Dominance. Human ships were not just capturing alien technology. They were reproducing using raw materials stripped from enemy vessels. "Replication rate has exceeded all projections," reported his engineering officer, Commander Nancy White. "We now have over 10,000 active vessels, with new ships coming online every hour." The human fleet was growing exponentially. Every captured alien ship became raw material for building 3 more human vessels. Every destroyed enemy vessel provided metals, exotic matter, and energy sources for expanding human capabilities. Dr. Jennifer Ross explained the process to captured alien officers from the interrogation center aboard the converted Vorthak dreadnought New Hope. The aliens sat in restraints designed for human prisoners, their multiple eyes wide with shock and confusion. Your species has been fighting the same way for thousands of years, Jennifer told them through a translation device. You build expensive ships that take decades to construct. You train elite crews for centuries. You fight according to honor codes that protect your investments. War leader Thos, now a prisoner aboard what had once been his own flagship, struggled to understand. This is how civilized beings conduct warfare. You cannot simply destroy everything without regard for consequences. Jennifer smiled coldly. We're not destroying everything. We're converting everything. Your ship is now producing human weapons. Your crew is now working for human objectives. Your empire's resources are now fueling human expansion. The revelation that was spreading through alien command structures was something their strategic thinkers had never considered. Humans didn't fight to capture territory or establish dominance. They fought to consume and transform their enemies completely. Colonel Mike Anderson revealed the final phase of humanity's military response when long-range sensors detected human ships appearing deep behind alien lines. Somehow, human forces had traveled impossible distances through methods that violated every known principle of faster-than-light travel. How are they doing this? Demanded Admiral Kethmarai from his command ship, which was now surrounded by human vessels that had appeared from nowhere. Our sensors show no gravitic distortions, no exotic matter signatures. These ships simply appeared. His science officer examined the readings with growing panic. Sir, the humans appear to be using quantum tunneling on a macroscopic scale. They're literally phasing their ships through normal space-time. The technology was impossible according to galactic science. No known species had ever managed to quantum tunnel anything larger than individual particles. The energy requirements alone should have been beyond any civilization's capabilities. But humans had approached the problem differently. Where other species had tried to tunnel entire ships through space, humans had built ships that could partially exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Their vessels could become probability clouds that reformed at distant locations. Captain Ryan Martinez, the architect of Project Endurance, monitored the final phase of humanity's response from his command ship as it materialized in orbit around the Zephyrian homeworld. Around him, displays showed similar operations beginning around every major alien world in the galaxy. Remember, Ryan broadcast to all human forces, we're not here to destroy civilizations. We're here to remove their ability to threaten Earth, disable their military infrastructure, convert their fleet production facilities, leave their civilian populations alone unless they resist. The Galactic Council was learning that humanity's approach to warfare was shaped by surviving countless extinction events on Earth. When faced with threats to their species' survival, humans didn't just fight back. They evolved, adapted, and transformed the very nature of the conflict. Dr. Amy Foster monitored the global operation from Mars, watching as human forces simultaneously attacked every council member's home system. What had started as an invasion of Earth had become the conquest of an entire galactic civilization. Total conversion rate is approaching 60%, Amy reported to President Walsh. We now control more alien vessels than they do. Their remaining forces are scattered and unable to coordinate effectively. The president appeared on screen from the White House, looking older but grimmer than he had a month ago. What are their options now? Surrender or extinction, Amy replied simply. We've demonstrated that we can reach any star system in the galaxy. We can convert their technology faster than they can build it, and we can sustain this campaign indefinitely using their own resources. The galaxy was learning what Earth's predators had discovered millions of years ago. When humans were threatened, they didn't just fight. They hunted, and they never stopped hunting until the threat was completely eliminated. The Galactic Council had declared war expecting to face another cowering civilization. Instead, they had awakened something that was systematically dismantling their 10,000-year-old empire and reshaping it into something entirely new. 3 months after the first shot was fired, High Chancellor Vexithara stood in what had once been the Galactic Council chambers, now converted into a human administrative facility. The crystalline alien's 6 arms hung limp at his sides as he faced President Kevin Walsh across a simple metal table. Behind the human leader stood Admiral Susan Clark and General Paul Turner, their faces showing no emotion as they watched the formal surrender. The Galactic Council formally surrenders all military forces to human authority, Vexithara said in broken English, his translation device having been replaced with human technology. We accept full responsibility for the unprovoked attack on your species and request mercy for our civilian populations. President Walsh looked at the alien leader with something that might have been pity. High Chancellor, you misunderstand our intentions. We didn't fight this war to conquer your species. We fought it to survive. The document Vexithara signed was unlike any surrender treaty in galactic history. Instead of demanding tribute or territory, humans required something far more fundamental: the complete dismantling of the hierarchical system that had governed galactic civilization for 10,000 years. Commander Jake Morrison oversaw the establishment of the Terran Protectorate from his new headquarters aboard the converted Council flagship Eternal Unity. The massive ship had been completely rebuilt with human technology, its crystalline corridors now filled with workstations where humans and aliens labored side by side. Status report, Jake requested from his aide, Lieutenant Amy Foster. 47 star systems have formally requested membership in the Protectorate, Amy replied, consulting her tablet. Most are species that were previously conquered by the Council. They're eager to join a system that treats them as equals rather than subjects. The Protectorate was humanity's answer to the old galactic order. Instead of a hierarchy where advanced species dominated primitive ones, the new system offered partnership based on contribution rather than conquest. Any species willing to abandon the old ways of dominance and submission could join as full equals. Dr. Lisa Grant led the cultural integration programs from the research station now, orbiting the former Council capital world. Her work involved something no galactic civilization had ever attempted before: teaching species that had been enemies for millennia to work together as partners. The key insight, Lisa explained to a mixed group of human and alien scientists, is that competition and cooperation aren't opposites. On Earth, humans learn to compete with other humans while cooperating against external threats. We're teaching the galaxy the same lesson. The aliens were struggling to understand concepts that humans took for granted. Species that had spent thousands of years as either conquerors or conquered had no framework for true partnership. The Vorthak couldn't comprehend working alongside the crystalline collective as equals. The Zephyrians couldn't accept that their advanced technology didn't make them superior to younger species. Captain Ryan Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Terra Nova, humanity's first interstellar dreadnought built with combined human and alien technology. The ship was a marvel of engineering that incorporated the best innovations from dozens of species, all working together under human coordination. Fusion core is stable, reported his chief engineer, a former crystalline collective scientist named Keth High, who had chosen to join the human fleet rather than return to his homeworld. The gravitational drives are performing beyond all specifications. Around the bridge, crews of multiple species worked together with an efficiency that amazed even Ryan. Humans provided leadership and innovation. Crystalline scientists contributed their advanced mathematics. Vorthak engineers offered their expertise with exotic matter. Zephyrian technicians shared their mastery of energy manipulation. The combination of human adaptability with alien knowledge was producing technological advances at a pace that stunned everyone involved. Ships that could exist in multiple dimensions, weapons that converted enemy attacks into friendly fire, defensive systems that grew stronger the more they were attacked. Dr. Margaret Lee coordinated the massive reconstruction effort from her office on Mars, now the administrative center of human space. Her screens showed progress reports from across the galaxy as former Council worlds were rebuilt according to human principles. The Vorthak homeworld has completed conversion of their military shipyards to civilian manufacturing, Margaret reported to Admiral Clark. They're now producing medical equipment and agricultural tools instead of weapons. What about resistance movements? Admiral Clark asked, minimal and declining. Most species are discovering that they prefer partnership to domination. The ones that don't are finding it very difficult to organize opposition when we control all the communication networks and transportation systems. The transformation of galactic society was proceeding faster than anyone had expected. Species that had been locked in eternal conflicts for thousands of years were discovering the benefits of cooperation. Trade flourished between former enemies. Scientific advances accelerated as different species shared knowledge freely. Captain Steve Clark, now commanding a mixed-species exploration fleet, reported the discovery of 17 new habitable worlds in previously unexplored regions of the galaxy. Under the old Council system, such worlds would have been claimed by the strongest species and their inhabitants enslaved or eliminated. Under the Protectorate, they were offered protection and invited to join the growing alliance. President Walsh addressed the first Protectorate Assembly from the rebuilt Council chambers, now expanded to accommodate representatives from over 200 species. The hall buzzed with dozens of different languages as the translation systems worked to keep everyone synchronized. 6 months ago, your leaders told humanity that we were a contamination risk to galactic civilization, Walsh said, his words carrying to every corner of the galaxy through quantum communication networks. They were right, but not in the way they expected. The president gestured to the mixed crowds of humans and aliens working together throughout the chamber. We have contaminated your civilization with something your species had forgotten. The idea that strength comes from diversity, that advanced civilizations protect weaker ones instead of conquering them, and that true security comes from having allies rather than subjects. High Chancellor Vexithara, now serving as an advisor rather than a ruler, listened to the human leader with growing understanding. His species had ruled through fear and superiority for 10,000 years, but they had never achieved the stability and growth that humans had created in just 6 months. Commander, Morrison looked out through the observation deck of Terra Nova at the bustling traffic around the Protectorate capital. Ships from dozens of species moved in organized patterns, their crews working together on missions of exploration, trade, and mutual defense. The galaxy had declared war on Earth, expecting to face another primitive species that would cower before superior force. Instead, they had awakened something that challenged their fundamental assumptions about civilization, power, and progress. Humanity had proven that being civilized didn't mean being peaceful, and that being peaceful didn't mean being weak. The galaxy was learning that the most dangerous species wasn't the one with the biggest weapons or the oldest civilization. It was the one that refused to accept that some fights couldn't be won. The new galactic order was built on a simple human principle. When someone threatens your family, you don't just defend them, you make sure the threat never arises again.